This video contains some light spoilers for Mato Seihei no Slave, or Slave of the Hell Soldiers, or Chained Soldier if you just stand fun. Yes, I'm really doing this. I'm going to recommend this manga, and some people are going to hear that and go, seriously? And to that I respond with a simple yes. Now don't get it twisted, this is an ecchi manga, and I'm playing Russian roulette with the panels that will indicate that to you while keeping this video completely on the up and up. If that is the kind of thing you're into, then you cannot miss this, because not only does it have that, it's also a really good action story on top of that. And I suppose that shouldn't be too surprising because it's by Takahiro, who most manga and anime fans probably know better as the guy who wrote Akame ga Kill. Don't worry, this won't crush you like that series. It'll crush you in a unique way. If you like series with superpowered battles and clean action executed by fun characters like Black Clover, My Hero Academia, Fairy Tail, and Bleach, then I encourage you to check this out. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you and say something like, you can ignore the ecchi and just get into this for the story. The ecchi is very prevalent and usually attached to the scenes. If you have no patience for this, then this isn't for you. Although depending on how censored it is, you might enjoy the anime adaptation. With that in mind, this series has good qualities beyond that. I would not be talking about this story if it was just sexual fan service. In fact, I wouldn't even be reading it. The art is really good, even when the characters are too busy hitting each other to take off their clothes. I'd say this falls under the surprisingly prevalent genre of not my fetish but okay. The plot itself isn't that complicated or dissimilar from other shonen of its ilk, but that doesn't stop it from being good regardless. In a world where girls can gain superpowers from special fruits found in another dimension, the aforementioned Mato, and monsters from that dimension, called Shuuki, are constantly invading, one teen, Yuuki Wakura, finds himself capable of achieving his seemingly impossible dream of being a hero when he meets Kyouka Uzen, a captain of the Mato Corps whose power is rather unique. She can make another living being into a slave monster that fights alongside her while drawing out its full potential. Though when I think about it, slave isn't exactly the word I'd use to describe this, because they do get rewarded. The power compels Kyouka to provide rewards equivalent to whatever work the slaves put in based on the slave's own latent desires. And for Yuuki, that can range from anything from giving him sweets to sleeping next to each other in their underwear, and other things I'd get demonetized for describing. The reward is based on what he desires from his master, and he's a horny teenage boy, and she's hot. Let's not act surprised. Though it does lead to some pretty funny rewards. So Yuuki is recruited because of his great compatibility with her powers. Oh, and don't worry, Kyouka can lend out her slave to the other girls so they get to reward him too. Frankly, as degenerate as this manga's title and plot contrivances are, I'm not gonna lie, the actual story can be rather wholesome and at some points even inspiring. If this was a less ecchi series on Weekly Shonen Jump instead of Jump Plus, I could totally see people on Twitter talking about it alongside series like Eden Zero and Mission Yu Sakura Family, both of which I plan to talk about in later videos, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss those. And it's not just Kyouka, all the girls have unique abilities. Abilities that tie into their personalities and motivations in some way, which informs the abilities Yuuki gets when they use him. This leads to some rather creative and tactical fights. However, I can't really talk about the fights I like the most without getting into the characters participating in those fights, which would spoil some revelations in the manga that I think are best experienced as they happen. Let's save those for another video. The character designs are amazing and really reflect the characters but leave enough room for a twist. They also translate really well into the fight scenes. Yuuki's slave forms and the reveal of the new powers that come with them especially always look badass. And I suppose we should look at the major characters we meet at the beginning of the story. Now, in all honesty, I don't find Yuuki, at least as he is in the first couple chapters, that interesting. He isn't a bad character, but if I'm being honest, he wouldn't make it to my top 10 of this story. There are just a lot of other characters that appeal to me more. I recognize that the writing that goes into him is actually really good, as we explore his dynamic with Kyouka and some of the other girls, and there are interesting ideas regarding loyalty and hope that get fleshed out as their relationships grow. His character gets a lot better as the story goes on and gets into its groove as the plot unfolds. Kyouka, his master, and let's face it, main love interest, is a pretty headstrong and ambitious girl who wants to become the leader of the Mato Defense Corps and is willing to put up with Yuuki's rewards as long as that will lead her to her goal of wiping out the Shuuki. And yeah, that's the only reason. There's totally no other reason why she puts up with it, none at all. But honestly, she really is just as much of a protagonist as Yuuki and gets arguably even more development than him. And then there's Himari, and I find myself comparing her to Noelle Silva and wondering if her family is technically worse or better than the Silvas. Either way, she's a tsundere that warms up to Yuuki as the story goes on and gets a lot of focus and development as she learns to master her powers. Oh, the comparison to Noelle wasn't just because of her shitty family. Shushu Suruga is a bit simpler as, despite her boisterous personality and penchant for messing with the MC, she's actually rather shy about her crush on him. We mostly follow her clearly doomed attempts to woo him as they get to know each other. And finally we get to the group mascot, Nei Okawamura. She's their censor and basically their little sister who is just totally adorable. Also, she's technically ranked higher than Yuuki despite being 11. I reiterate, she's really freaking adorable. And don't worry, when she lends her powers to Yuuki, all she does is hug him. This is a wholesome harem manga which has enough age appropriate girls in it, so we can just focus on treating Nei like the adorable little sister she is. When the characters aren't fighting monsters, they're getting to know each other and building their relationships and respect for each other, which gives it a real slice of life feel along with the whole shonen action series. Also, I feel compelled to mention Tenka Izumo because in a series, and let's face it, a genre, full of girls who will dance around whether or not they have feelings for the MC, there's something refreshing about a girl who will just go straight to his room and ask him out. And like the other characters, she's also had some interesting dynamics and developments that have made her just a joy to read, as well as 2 great fight scenes. And considering she won the popularity poll with almost double the votes Kyouka had, I don't think I'm alone in thinking that. And there are also many other characters who appear later in the story whom I can't really talk about, though I will consider making more videos for this series depending on how this video performs. The initial cast gets a bit overshadowed as the story goes on, but I wouldn't really describe them as neglected, and the new characters are just as fun. Many of the antagonists have a "we're fighting now but we'll be allies in the future" air about them, mostly because most of them are also in the Mato core. And I don't know what the deal is with the final villains, but I do know that I want to know more, and I can't wait to see how the story unfolds. They actually have some cute moments themselves when they aren't plotting humanity's downfall. And speaking of the fights, the power system is very varied. Almost any kind of power can exist, though they usually come with enough balance to keep the fights from going one-sided, and also require some strategy that adds some tension into the mix. And not to spoil too much, but there are clearly notable differences in the type of power some factions can use and others can't. All of this combines to lend itself to some amazing battles that make for great eye candy and does much to help grow investment in the characters themselves. I mean, one of their early enemies is basically Girl Dio complete with JoJo poses but with less sadism. Yes, this is an ecchi series, which will make it inaccessible to many people who would like what I've described so far, but it's also more than that. Once again, the art is really expressive and clean, both in the fight scenes and the not fight scenes. It's a genuinely enjoyable and well-drawn story, and I definitely recommend it to you if it sounds like something you'd like, especially if you enjoy watching me dissect characters and fights, because in a few weeks I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite fights in the series. If this video has gotten any interest out of you, please comment your thoughts and hit the like button to battle the YouTube algorithm, and share this video with anyone you think would enjoy it, as well as subscribe for more content. Thank you and good day.